Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 152 of our Be a Better You annual challenge. Today we're switching gears to contribution, and we're going to use a cool tool that I don't think I've ever used it before. Maybe I have, but it was really fun, and I might have gone a little too deep on it, so I'll try to keep this a little short today. But today we're talking about, and all this month, we're focusing on the area of contribution. How do we interact with ourselves, other people, the rest of the world, the groups we're a part of, etc. Social media, everything. And well, not everything, but how do we contribute? How do we define, first and foremost, what is contribution to you? What is your definition of contribution? And that's what we're going to dig deep into today. We're going to use our 6 senses. Now, most people think we have 5 senses, but I'm going to contend that, of course, we all have intuition, and that is our 6th sense. And we're going to use that and the other 5 senses that we use all the time to understand our world, to experience our world, to help us get clear on what is our definition of contribution. How are we going to be a part of the world around us, or a part of our communities, a part of our families, a part of the organizations we belong to, a part of the global collective, right? Because we are all connected. I know people don't like to talk about that. It's kind of woo-woo, but as living human beings, everything is energy, and that includes us as well. So today, our tool is going to be to look at the 6 senses and ask ourselves some questions about it. I'm going to grab a magnifying glass because I wrote a lot down. I wrote 2 pages of stuff, 3 actually, of notes on this, because it's such a different perspective and a different way of looking at how do we define contribution, and how do we define it as our ability to impact things outside of ourselves, both inside and outside of ourselves. Most of this challenge is about internal things and how we grow personally and interact with the rest of the world. This is how do we set an example and make the world a better place. That is part of my definition of contribution. How do I be an example, a good example, please? Not always a good example, I admit it, but I try to be a good example, and I'm always continually improving and attempting to be the best possible version of myself. That's what this challenge is all about, is how do we become a better version of ourselves, which demonstrates to the rest of the world that they can become a better version of themselves as well. So, what are our senses? I'm just going to talk about a couple of things, and then I'll give an example of how I went through and thought about these things. All right, sight. Our eyes, right? This is probably my weakest link in my weakest area right now. Used to be my best. I used to think that vision and beauty and things were key and so important to me, but I became legally blind, I don't know, 2019 in my one eye. 1990s, early 1990s in my left eye, and then my right eye followed suit, following my sudden cardiac arrest in 2010, so that by 2019 I was pretty much toast with respect to visual things. But I still see a little, and so I appreciate every little bit, every color, everything I still can see, anything and everything I still can do, instead of focusing on the things I can't do anymore. Can't drive. I haven't been able to drive since 2019, and part of that was self-imposed, because I'm like, okay, I don't feel like I can see good enough to drive, then I probably shouldn't be driving, right? That's just common sense. So for sight, seeing the impact of our contribution is a really powerful way of knowing and getting feedback from the world around us as to if we're contributing in a positive way or a negative way. If you're attracting a whole lot of negative people, guess what? That's what's going on inside of you, and so that's what you're actually projecting out into the world. If you're attracting a lot of positive people and positive experiences and good things in your life, that's probably because that's what's going on inside your head and your mind, and you're seeing those things in the world. We only see in the world what we expect to see. We only see in the world what we get back. And I know that's kind of weird to think about if you watch the news and you see all kinds of negative stuff, you start to think more negatively. I give up the news and media in the 1980s, probably 6 or 7. I can't remember exactly now, but it was part of a training, and we were encouraged to stop watching the news for a week, just for a week during the training, and I just never went back. I never went back to watching it. Here and there, I will catch snippets of the news, but I try to stay off of it, because even back then, it was almost all negative, right? Because negative things get our attention. So sight, how do you see? What do you see? What are you seeing in the world? And what's the impact of our action? Just the impact of us being is being reflected back to us all the time, if we're willing to see it and open our eyes. Sound, hearing, right? We've got 2 ears for a reason and 1 mouth. We talk about that in communication. The resonance of the encouragement and the things that we put out into the world. So, with respect to contribution, what's our body language like? What's our eye contact like? What is our tone of voice like? I have got a challenge that I'm working on of I, out of my own sense of fear, worry about my little granddaughters getting hurt. I don't want anything to ever happen to any of my granddaughters on my watch, right? When I'm hanging out with them, I want to always make sure they're safe. And I take that to too high a level and tend to raise my voice. Yeah, scream. Grandma screams. It's quite pathetic. I'm working on it. I will fix it. I have to realize and always remind myself it's my fear, not theirs, that is causing me to overreact. Touch is all about the tangible power of our being present in the moment, in our presence, right? If you're giving someone a hug, you're present in the moment, right? You're actually touching them. So physical touch, it's the power to be actually present. It has everything to do with textures and feeling and things like a handwritten note. A handwritten note or a letter nowadays is a huge differentiator because everybody's just texting and sending emails, right? Most people. So if you want to stand out, if you want to make an impression on someone, if you want to show them that you're present and you care, send them a handwritten card or letter for an occasion or for a birthday or a graduation or something. Taste, savor the flavor of giving. This might mean you're contributing at a food shelf. It might mean you're serving meals to people at a place that serves meals for people that need food. So the flavor, the taste that we give things, cooking. Cook for somebody. That's a way to contribute, right? Feel, emotional intelligence as contribution. To me, this one's huge, especially in a time when people seem to really be lacking consideration for other human beings and emotional intelligence. It's like a whole bunch of folks simultaneously had their ability to think for themselves turned off. It's like a switch has been flipped, especially over the last decade, that is not in accordance with humanity's benefit, I guess I would say. So feeling to me has everything to do with our emotional intelligence, our ability to think for ourselves when we feel our emotions, because we're going to feel our emotions no matter what. But then what do we do with that feeling of anger, that feeling of fear, that feeling of love, that feeling of gratitude? What do we do with those feelings? That's what we're going to discuss this month, because that's how we contribute. It's how we handle the emotions that we as human beings all have that matters. And then finally, intuition. That's the sixth sense of meaning that comes from our contributing, from making the world a better place. Obviously, one of my components of my definition of contribution is making the world a better place. To me, that is a foundational baseline. I need to make the world a better place. I need to make my life better, the life for those I love and care about better. I need to contribute in a lot of different ways to that, all these ways, right? But that also means not harming other human beings, right? That to me is the basic line in the sand that is a no-brainer for me, but for a lot of people it's not true. A lot of people are just out for themselves, and it doesn't matter. They will climb that corporate ladder and step on everybody's heads on their way up, or they will harm other people to get money or whatever it might be. So what are we going to do today for an action item? We are going to think through our emotions with respect to how we define contribution. How do we define contribution? How are we showing up in the world, right? If we're barely getting by and barely showing up, but that's the best we can do right now, that's awesome, because you're setting an example for other people that says, guess what? We all struggle. We all have good times and bad. And in the bad times, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep moving forward, and I'm going to set the example for other people. So think of each of the different senses: sight, sound, touch, taste, feeling, and intuition. And pick, I'd say test them all out today as you go throughout your day, but pick one and share how it impacts your definition of contribution. How does it change or affect or impact how you see and define contribution for you? All of my experiences, sight, sound, taste, feel, all of them have been impacted by the desire to make the world a better place, to set a good example, not a bad example, for other people. Why? Because to me, setting a good example feels good. Being reactionary, making a snide comment on social media, and yes, I am so guilty of that right now. That makes me feel bad. So then I'm like, well, why do I even do it? Just don't even read the posts. Don't even go on there, because you can't change other people's thinking and minds and beliefs. Everybody gets their own beliefs, including those I don't agree with. I get my own beliefs too. And I think that's where I push back and stand up, is when people think that they get to share their own opinions and beliefs and thoughts and feelings, but other people don't because they don't agree with them. And to me, I shut that down, because everybody gets to express them. And that means me too. I get to express when I don't agree with you. Anyway, so if you have any questions about this, my throat's going apparently. I need some more coffee. Just ask. I think it's an interesting frame of reference to look at how do we define contribution. And so I obviously had a lot of fun with it. I've got 3 pages of notes. So just share one way you could or will today contribute to the rest of the world through one of your senses. Have an awesome day, and I'll, of course, see you tomorrow. Bye. Slow connection at the end.